All right, welcome back to another episode. Want to thank you for coming back as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Want to thank Adam Chubbuck with Douglas Realty in Pasadena, Maryland. That's Team Alpha Charlie. TACMD.com. That's TACMD.com. The real estate market's ever changing, and you know, it's not. I know some people want to save a dollar, especially right now, a little bit of rough economy for consumers and buyers and sellers, and they want to save a dollar. Well, when you use a real estate agent, especially a good one, such as Adam, he's going to get you more money if you're selling your house, and he can probably negotiate you a better deal if you're buying a house. So this is not the time. This is too big of a transaction to rely solely on yourself to navigate through. Coming from someone who's bought and sold probably 4 or 5 houses in my lifetime, and I'm 45 or 46 years old, each time I've had a real estate agent. I've had some good ones. I've had some bad ones. And just in dealing with Adam, he's always been... he's not always going to tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to tell you what you need to hear. And for me, that's what's important with a real estate agent in this type of a transaction. I mean, a low cost of a house is $250,000. When you say it like that, you know, you're not going into any other kind of purchase without professional advice when you're dealing with $250,000. Some of these houses are $500,000. $750,000. I mean, some people, I mean, and these are just regular homes. You know, think about it. $250,000 is the cost of a condo around here, and not even a good one. So, go to TACMD.com, schedule a meeting with Adam, and you want to deal with a real professional who's going to do things right by you. If it doesn't work for you, he's going to let you know, even if it comes at the cost of his own pocket. And he knows that by doing that, he's building that relationship with you so that when you are ready to get into the market, whether as a buyer or seller, or even if you just need advice, he knows you're going to go to him. And that's exactly what I do. I mean, I haven't bought or sold a house with Adam, but I still consider myself a client because I go to him for advice. He has excellent resources. We were able to get a question answered in my particular case that was excellent. And we're still looking for something for my in-laws, but you know, the prices were a little high for what we wanted to do. And he said, look, he goes, for what you want to do right now, he goes, I don't know if it makes sense to buy versus rent. And that's coming from him. That wasn't coming from me. And for me, that advice is invaluable, which is why and eventually I'll be moving out of this house and buying another one in my retirement days. And hopefully Adam's still in the business and he's going to help me find that house and he's going to help me sell this one. Because of the honesty that he's shown me now. That doesn't mean we're not going to buy something for my in-laws, but at least he's given me all the information so that I can make an educated decision with something this large. So go to TACMD.com, that's TACMD.com, and schedule an appointment with Adam if you're going to be on the real estate market in any capacity. So today's episode, first, it's just me. Mike is got some work stuff going on. The month of March has been a nightmare trying to get our schedules matched up so we could record some episodes just because it's the start of baseball, softball season. Mike's got 3 boys playing. I got 2 girls playing. Schedules are all over the place. I mean, shoot, I'm on a softball field 4 nights a week right now, plus trying to get the fields ready for the entire organization. And I mean, Mike got not a new job, but a new position within his organization. So he's been dealing with some stuff. Plus he's got some new work assignments he's got to deal with. So, and then to top it off, there's been sicknesses in both houses and just trying to get everyone healthy has been a nightmare. So we just haven't been able to record as much. And then, of course, I forgot to put out one of the episodes, so that's what came out 2 weeks ago. I think we were talking about the USA Olympic hockey win, which is great. So yeah, it's been a hectic month. So I know we took a couple weeks off just so we could kind of get everything in order. And I know this was just me, but everything is fine with the show. We're keeping it going. We still enjoy doing it, so don't worry about that. I know I feel like I kind of say this every 2-3 months. We're not going anywhere, I promise. But there's a couple interesting topics I'm just going to hit on in this episode. It's not going to be very long, but I did want to put something out so we didn't have too many weeks without shows being put out before we can start recording again. There's been so much happening as far as like politics go, and even just life events. I mean, I bought a car. So I'll get into that when Mike's here because Mike and I love talking about cars. I didn't get rid of the Yukon. Yukon's still in my driveway. Going through some inspection stuff going on with the car and everything. So I'll get into all of that in another episode. Just got back from a vacation with my family. We went down to Disney World and Universal, saw Epic Studios, or I think it's called Epic Studios, or Universal Epic, I don't know what they call it. Anyway, whatever Epic Universe is, that's what we went to. Plus, we also went to Original Universal, and we went to some parks in Disney. Had a good time. So we'll talk about that one. Also, when I get back, when Mike gets back, we'll talk about some of that. But yeah, we all got down there, and then 3 out of the 4 of us had strep throat, so that was great. But I have to say, the trip down there and everything was really good. It was fun. Even though we had to deal with the strep and going to urgent care and getting some medicines, but it was still a great time. Let's see. I guess the other big topic is the federal shutdown, and this is not going to be political. This is, for most of you that know, when the government does the shutdowns and the furloughs with DHS, I am one of the people that ends up being furloughed. So that means I don't work during these shutdowns, but we do get back paid. I know that's a big contentious issue with some people. Like, we don't work, we shouldn't get paid. But at the same time, we're also not fired. There's no reduction in force. We're simply on hold. And we cannot go get a job that relates to the field that we work in. And that's where I think this is a little bit different. So could I go do Uber runs and or go work at Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's or go do something else? Yes, but as it pertains to my field, essentially what I have 20 years of service in, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to put this. It's essentially, imagine you're an HVAC tech and you can't, your company says, we're not going to pay, you're not going to work, and due to this contract, you cannot go get a job as an HVAC tech. So you can't use your relevant experience to go get another job. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's like a non-compete. Yeah, but with the non-compete, you're either separated from the company or you're fired. This is not the case. You're still considered a federal employee. You're still employed by the federal government. You're simply not working, though. And you're not allowed to use your relevant experience to go and get another job. Now, you could get the job and then leave the other one, but the problem is there's no one there working to process your separation. So then it becomes, are you violating the law and the ethics code by accepting that other job without officially leaving the prior federal job? And so generally the answer to that is you can't do it without getting in some type of trouble. So a lot of people won't go that route. So it's more complicated than just saying, well, you're not working, go work another job. Like, well, I could go work another job to make some money. And a lot of people have. I mean, shoot, you hear about the TSA agents that call in sick and they're going to work Uber or DoorDash or whatever to make money so they have money coming in. And I don't blame them one bit. But it's not like the TSA agent can call in sick. And by the way, they're not furloughed. They're still working without pay. But imagine if a TSA worker got furloughed, they then couldn't go into the business of any kind of security for the most part, because then it would be too much of a risk of it being similar to the job that they do. Or even if like, they're like, well, what if we furlough TSA and hire a private company to do it? Okay, well, generally how that works would be the private company would then just hire the current TSA agents, but you couldn't do that because the TSA agent being furloughed can't go get a job in their career genre, right? So that it really just muddies the water in this case. So that's why we generally get back paid, because it really does hamstring the employee from going in using their relevant experience to go get a good paying job in the market. So there's that. And don't get me wrong, there are opportunities for federal employees to take opportunities to go work in their field if they were allowed to do so. The private companies in DC, while they've scaled back, they use these opportunities during the federal furlough to cherry pick employees, and offers get made to employees, which is why you see some take the risk and jump ship. But a lot are very hesitant to do so because of they don't want to accept the job and then have to give it up and then end up with no job at all. It's just a really, really precarious situation to have to deal with. And sometimes what happens is the private company will reach out hoping that someone's just fed up with the situation. And then as soon as the federal employees are back working and unfurloughed, they then put in paperwork to leave so that they can go work at that job. Because generally the offers are quite good. And then, of course, I'm sure people are out there asking, well, why don't people go work in the private sector? Well, because normally there's a security aspect to the federal employment that the private sector can't offer. Yes, it's generally less money, but there's more security to it, and there's not reliability. For people that like routine, certain federal jobs provide that routine, that work environment where you go into work, you know what you're going to do, you do it well, and you go home. And there's positives about that. There are people that like that kind of work environment. I'm one of them. I like the steadiness. I'm not a big fan of changing routines and all this other stuff. But I would say in my 20 years, I'd say I've been approached about, I would say seriously approached probably about 6 times. Semi-seriously, kind of like testing the waters to see where my interest was, I'd say there was probably about another 6 or 7. It's just kind of the nature of where we work, because we do interface with a lot of private companies, we interface with a lot of governments. So we're in front of a lot of people that value the expertise that we bring to the table and the variety of experience that we bring to the table. So there's that part of it. But I'd say I only seriously considered it once. But it was only for a couple minutes. I just didn't want the idea of change, not at this time of my life. My kids are still young. I like the freedom that the job provides me. I like the steady hours, the steadiness of the work allows me to be more involved with my kids' lives. and my wife as well. It allows us to do. It allows us to enjoy a certain lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that doesn't really require more money. But it requires time, and that's what I'm afforded by doing this job. So that's me personally why I haven't moved on, and why I really haven't considered it. So that's just me. Now, as far as like not getting a paycheck for about a month and some change, yes, it sucks. It does sound like we're gonna get paid soon, which is great. I would like to just go back to work though, because as this rolls on, for every I would say for every day that we're not working, it's probably 2 days to catch up. I know that math won't make sense to some people, but essentially when we get called back into work, all of the systems we use also have to get ramped up, so I can't necessarily do what I need to do until the systems are back up and running. And then there's just a matter of remembering what you were even doing 45 days ago. Think about that. It was 45 days plus since I've been in the office doing work. I don't really remember exactly what I've left off with, so I'm going to have to go and reacquaint myself with the schedule and all the issues I had going on, and then I can kind of start basically checking the tasks off the list that I need to do. Plus, it's not like the work stops coming in, so you have new work coming in, so you're trying to balance the backlog with the new stuff, and it's not basically, it's not a one for one. You know, it's not you missed one day, it takes 1 day to catch up. It's you missed 1 day, it takes 2 to catch up, plus you have stuff already coming in, and that's where that kind of comes into play. So we probably won't be caught up until, I want to say, we're looking at 3 months. If I was to go back today, it'd be about 3 months until I was about caught up comfortably to where I felt good about where I am, as far as having everything under wraps or under control. So there's that part of it. It's interesting. People always ask, "Oh, I wonder what the furloughed feds think." Geez, that was a tongue twister there. So look, I've been at this 20 years. I've been furloughed, I want to say 6 times now, 7 times. I don't even know. I lost count. The longer ones are annoying, but people always ask me, well, who do you blame? It's almost like I've got some additional extra knowledge about the inner workings, and I really don't. But as far as like who I blame, I mostly blame all of them, because in my opinion, a lot of it is political theater. They're trying to score points with voters. They're either trying to peel off voters from the other party, or they're trying to hold on to voters that they already have. And I understand all of that. I understand, getting reelected is part of it. That's how you stay in office. I understand all that. But I had a boss, my first boss in federal government. She had a saying, and it was, "You don't mess with other people's money," meaning paychecks. It was the one rule she had. And it was a great rule, because no matter what happened, no matter what we had going on, she always made sure that our timesheets were certified and that we were getting paid on time. When we went on travel, she made sure we got reimbursed on time. Those type of things. Well, in this case, these people, meaning Congress, all of them, Congress, president, anyone involved, right? Well, they're messing with people's money. And again, it's not like we can just go and get another job. It doesn't really work like that. And so they think it doesn't hurt anyone because they're going to get us back pay. And they do this every time. They sign the order, we get back paid, and everyone's made whole again, and that's great. But the problem is you have a lot of people that live paycheck to paycheck. The paycheck comes in and it's already accounted for with car notes or house bills or utility bills. Like the money is spoken for. And when that money doesn't come in, it really affects those people a lot. And I really do feel for a lot of them. Luckily, I'm in a position where, I think it was 2018, we had that shutdown. And we were kind of caught a little off guard by it. We didn't expect it. But since then, we were able to save up enough money where we said if this ever happens again, we're going to be in a position to ride it out. And we have been. And I talked about this briefly after the last shutdown, but it's made it less stressful to have to go through. Now, don't get me wrong. Not having a paycheck for over a month for me has been, it's stressful in mind, not necessarily in fact, just because we do have the savings that we needed to get through this. But now imagine if I didn't have the savings to get through this and we were living paycheck to paycheck, and people can say all they want, well, you should have saved money. No, I did, but there are people that weren't able to do it either through their own budgeting decisions or whatever. Their reasoning is maybe medical bills, maybe card bills that they had to pay that were unexpected. And their savings are dried up. Well, now, or any reason whatsoever, if they're living paycheck to paycheck, and I just got notice today that my bank, and I use USAA Bank, that they're not doing the interest-free loans for federal employees anymore. So some banks were doing interest-free loans for federal employees that would get paid back when you got paid. And they stopped doing that, which is interesting. But because this is only a partial shutdown with only one agency, I guess they feel that they didn't want to extend that courtesy anymore. Now, I'm not sure if other banks are doing that or not, but I just thought it was interesting that, USA ran it for about 30 days, maybe 40 days, and then they stopped it. Probably when people needed it the most. But I guess it all comes back to you don't mess with other people's money. It's just a strange scenario. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. I don't think in all of my years of government that I think we've only had an on-time budget twice. And once was when they passed a 2-year budget. So I'm counting the second year of that budget as an on-time budget. But generally it's even though without a shutdown, they've had continuing resolutions to extend, and then eventually they pass a budget. And in my line of work, we really can't do what we need to do until we get a full year appropriation. The continuing resolutions just basically kick the can down the road for us, and we prepare for the day that we eventually get the full year appropriation, and then we can do what we need to do. And we've become very good at that. But it kind of comes to that saying I had a while back. I told an employee, I said, I don't get paid to do the job. I get paid to do the 95% of my job to work around the government. Essentially, the crap systems we get to work with, the late budgets we get to work with. So when the federal government doesn't pass a budget for 3 to 4 months and we don't get a full year appropriation until January, and we have to do basically 12 months of work in about 9 months' time. That's what we really get paid for. We're not getting paid because we do great stuff in 12 months. It's that we can cram 12 months of work into 9 months. Or some years it's been crammed 12 months of work into 6 months because we haven't had a full year appropriation for that long. And that's what's going to happen this year. essentially, eventually we're going to get a budget. And it's April 7th right now. So let's say we get a budget by April 15th. Well, let's do April 30th just for easy math. So May, June, July, August, September, October. That's 6 months. So basically, I got 6 months to get done what I needed to get done in 12. Pardon the cough. Sorry about that. Getting over that strep throat. So that's what we really get paid for. We get paid to basically do the job when Congress can't do theirs. And a lot of people wonder, well, you should fire the old feds. They get paid too much. Yeah, well, this is what we get paid for. You're essentially paying for my institutional knowledge so that I can cram 6 months or 12 months of work into 6 months. That's essentially what I get paid for. And I'm not saying it to be a jerk or conceited. It's just the truth of the matter. So, a lot of, and don't get me wrong, I'm just one person. Some of my coworkers think differently. Sometimes they blame one party over the other. And I understand that. I don't fault them for that. So, I'm just different, a little bit different politically. Like, when someone gets mad at one political party over the other, I get it. That's what your news feed tells you. And anyone who says they can't be manipulated by their news feed or wherever they get their news is lying to themselves. I can be manipulated. When you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I can be manipulated, that's when you know that you're probably one of the realists out there. So, that's where I am with that. In case anyone was wondering. First of all, no one should feel bad for me. So, please don't. I'm doing just fine. We'll get our job done. Hopefully, want to know what my biggest concern is? So every year in July, we go away for about 7 to 10 days to go see some family. And when we get these late budgets, it really throws into question whether I could take that vacation. Now, look, completely a first world problem. Again, do not feel bad for me. But as someone who values time with their family, especially, again, my kids are only going to be young for so long, right? So I would like to get these moments in as often as possible. It's partially why I coach their softball teams. It's why I do the PTO stuff. It's why, and my wife does a lot of this stuff too. We joke that we got to cut some of this back, but, eventually the kids are going to grow up, and we're not going to have the opportunities to spend time with them in these kind of like settings. But part of those settings is like family vacations, and it's nice to be able to do that. So I'm hoping that we don't get a budget so late that we are just cramming this work in, and we're not able to take those summer vacations. But again, it's a complete first world problem. I'm not, that's just so if you're wondering where my head's at, that's where my head's at. I'm wondering about, a few months more down the road, how's this going to affect me? But, this is not a woe is to me type of moment, so don't take it like that. Let's see, so that's pretty much the end of that topic for the most part. I'm sure Mike's going to ask me about it when he gets back. Things are good with Mike, though. Mike's still losing his weight. Weight-wise, I've gained some of my weight back because, as some of you guys know, I was dealing with essentially what ended up being like a autonomic nervous system issue, which is essentially a migraine when driving the car. So I had to go off the GLP-1, gain a lot of, well, I don't want to say a lot of the way back, but I've gained about probably 20 of the 70 pounds back. Now that it's getting more under control as far as the migraine issue, we still have to do some tweaks and some testing over the next couple months, but I think I want to go back on the GLP-1, the tirzepatide, to essentially get my weight back on track. Don't want to lose the progress that I had. But Mike's doing great with his. Maybe another episode or two, we'll talk with him more about that. See how he's feeling now. But he's looking great. He seems to be doing really well too. We've only texted over the last month or so. We haven't really gotten together just because of everything that's been going on. So it'd be interesting to see how he's doing. My stuff with the autonomic nervous system issues this has been going on. I want to say this is close to 8-9 months now. So it's getting more aggravating than anything that we haven't been able to solve it completely. And I don't know that there is a solution that puts me back to where I was. But we're keeping at it. We're still in the middle of the trial of, I'm using a drug called nortriptyline, which it helps to regulate your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system affects your, it affects your nervous system, obviously, but for me, it was triggering like an anxiety reflex, a fight or flight feeling during driving. I guess it's called motor vestibular issue, something like that. Something to do motor vehicle vestibular migraine, I think is what is the official name of it, but I don't know. So nortriptyline is supposed to help with that, but you've got to titrate it slowly. So it's like you go up 10 milligrams every 15 to 20 days, but then I had this vacation coming up, so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go up 10 milligrams right before we left, so the next step is to go up another 10 milligrams and see how I do. Plus, I got to test some bridges and see how I drive over those. The long straight drives have seemed to have gotten quite a bit better, which is good. But then there's always like the weather days that affect my head. So like, I guess migraines are fairly weather dependent, depending on the barometric pressure drops and increases, which I'm sure this is making for some great radio or podcasting, whatever you want to call this. But I want to just basically put it out there for people that want to know, especially for people that are going through this. Like, if you've ever kind of like, in your mid-40s, I guess your body goes through some changes, and mine's definitely going through some. And a lot of people find out they have these autonomic nervous issues in their 40s. And I know some people are out there, oh, it must be the COVID vaccine. It's not, I don't think it's the COVID vaccine. I've had so much other shit go in my body, I doubt it's just that. Or it's that at all. I have no idea. Could be the Roundup I was spraying when I was 15, getting rid of some weeds. Who knows, right? Could have been the chemotherapy I got when I was, back in my 20s. So, who knows what got put in my body that it's made it so this is happening now. But again, not woes to me. We will figure this out. And if it doesn't go back to completely normal, then I'll just have a new normal to deal with. That's just the way it is. So, but we're still working on that. Trying to think what else is going on as far as that. Not much else. We'll probably do more health stuff when Mike comes back, because I want to get you guys an update on how he's doing. But just for numbers wise, I'm right about 302 now, so I was down to 280. So I started at 350, went down to 280, so that was about 70 pounds lost. And then I'm probably back up to like 302, so I'm back over 3, which is not a great feeling. But we're going to get it back down. I've done it once, can do it again with the GLP-1. So it's not as disheartening this time around, just because I know what it's going to take to get back under, and that's what we're going to do. So not too worried about that. I've been talking to a few people, so we're trying to get Jeremy Kahn back on the show from the Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan. Funny thing is, I text with Jeremy quite a bit. His schedules and our schedule just don't match up. So that's why he hasn't been on as much. I think it was like 2 years ago, we said he was going to be on the show more, and unfortunately the schedules didn't line up. He had some changes go on, we had some changes go on, and so it just hasn't worked out schedule-wise, but I still text with him on a regular basis, and he's been trying to come back on. We've been trying to figure out dates for like the past 6 months. It just hasn't worked out. We talked to Matt Bennett from Third Way. I want to get his take on some of the elections that have happened since he's been on, especially with the Spanberger issues. Not much out of New Jersey, but there's been a little bit of rumblings out of there. So it's not just of who got elected, but what they've done since they've been in office. I know some of the stuff that Abigail Spanberger has done doesn't really mesh with what Matt was talking about as far as winning voters back. So it'll be an interesting take to see what he's got. I also want to hear what he has to say about Jay Jones in that win, to see if it helps or hurts the party come midterms. To be honest, I know everyone's like, oh, it's going to be a red wave, or it's going to be a blue wave. Like, in my uneducated opinion, it's very hard for the party in power to retain power in the midterms. It's just the way it is. I mean, if I'm using historical numbers to guide my answer on this, Democrats are going to win seats in probably the House, at least. If they don't, I don't think they'll have enough to overtake the Senate. But they might make that margin closer. And they could probably retake the House. So we shall see about that. If they don't make gains, though, that's really concerning for Democrats come 2028. Not winning back some seats at the midterms is generally not a good sign for the following election cycle. But we've been surprised before, so who knows? At the end of the day, probably I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I think the people that make a bigger deal out of it than it really is are looking more at their news feed as far as what real life is rather than looking outside their front door. Like, how does it affect your day-to-day life? When you go out and you talk to a neighbor, is any of this crap really affecting you? Probably not. Now that all the geopolitics, yeah, my gas prices went up. But I hate to tell you something. Gas prices go up and down. Gas prices are up right now. I mean, shoot, a couple years ago, I think gas was for 87, it was like $5.29 a gallon, like 4 years ago. I mean, it's probably gonna touch 5, and it's probably gonna go back under 3, or I wouldn't say under 3, but maybe under like $3.50. It's easy to get caught up in the headline of the day and think it's all gloom and doom. But look at it over the longer period and see how it really has affected your life. Yeah, my gas price went up a little bit. Yeah, it affected my grocery bill. Now, look, I'm not a fan of wanting to pay more for stuff. I don't like that. But I also know with some inflation comes higher prices. If we get into deflationary issues, we're probably in some bigger trouble. I mean, you're going to look at what happened in the early 80s, and some of you aren't old enough to know what happened in the early 80s, but mortgage interest rates were like 14-15%. So people that think 6% is high just don't have historical knowledge as to how bad it could be. So The only thing I can say is, and I know this is going to sound cliche and stupid, but it's to be kind to people. And not kind to certain people. Be as kind as you can to whomever you come across. Sometimes it's interesting. A coworker of mine and I, we talk politics openly. We agree on probably 85% of things, but we probably vote differently. And it's interesting. After every conversation, we always just kind of check in to make sure we're still okay. Because the friendship is worth more to us than expressing political opinions. And that's important, I think. It keeps your humanity a part of you. Because I don't care if he has different political opinions than me. I think it's good to debate things. I think it's good to talk about those things. But at the end of the day, I want for him whatever he wants for him. Whatever that is, I don't know. Like, if he wants to be more prosperous, I want that prosperity for him. If he just wants to ride his bike in peace, I want that peaceful bike ride for him. Because that's what makes him happy. And his success or failures don't affect me in any way. But as an individual, I don't want to see people suffer is not the word, but I don't want this outside world to affect his mental well-being when it really doesn't affect his day-to-day life. Now, could some things affect his day-to-day life? Sure, absolutely. Like, for example, with some of this, and I'm not one of these people that say everything is anti-Semitism. I'm not saying criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. I'm not that person. But there have been some additional targeted actions against Jewish people. And this is a partially Jewish household. And a lot of my family are Jewish. And I don't want to see harm come to them. I don't want to see harm come to a Muslim family. I know there are extremists on either end of this. I just don't want... I know it's utopian to say I don't want anything bad to happen. I know that's not the world we live in. But I think with a lot of the rhetoric that is out there and how persuaded people can be, that some of the rhetoric that people are using for clicks and for money, because clicks equal money, they're also able to persuade someone who wouldn't normally have done an action to take action that could adversely affect someone that I care for, either Muslim or Jewish. I do wish that people online, commentators, people with shows, I wish they would choose their words more carefully, but they won't. I have come to find out, and we've kind of said this, that we're probably one of the largest podcasts in America that is still independent of any corporate or larger funding control. I did not realize how many shows that are actively pushed in front of people's faces with celebrities, lots of celebrities, they're owned by major players, by industries. And I was reading something, and then I followed up, and I listened to a Tim Pool podcast, that the future of podcasting, because it's so effective in getting listeners to click. Again, we're talking about clicks again. That these big corporations are buying these podcasts, and the hosts aren't telling people who they're owned by. And they're selling some of these podcasts that started off with two guys in a basement are getting a lot of millions of dollars to sell to Paramount, CBS, NBC. A lot of the old media that isn't reaching people anymore, they're buying these podcasts. And I know the people that run these podcasts are, oh, well, they don't tell us what to say. Yeah, okay. For like the first 6 months. And then you say something they don't like and they have you tone it down. So I didn't realize how extensive big money was in podcasts. Now, no one's calling us. So when I say we're the biggest independent podcast in America, that probably doesn't mean shit, because no one's calling us to see if we're available. So we may be one of the only independent podcasts out there that are left, though, other than the other ones with a couple thousand listens per show. Right now we're at about, I still think we're around anywhere between 10 to 15,000 per show. We're creeping up on like closer to 15 to 20, but it's really hard to tell even that. But yeah, big money is coming into podcasting in waves. They're buying them up like crazy. I will say, if we ever get bought, I will tell you who we get bought by. I'll make that part of any contract we ever sign. Chances are nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to buy us. But this may be one of the only independent podcasts in your playlist today. So take that for what it's worth. We try and be as authentic as we can. We are who we are. And we hope you enjoyed listening to that. I mean, enough people seem to, so that's great. I want to thank you for listening. I do. It's taken this hobby of ours, and for Mike and I, this is still therapy to just talk about these things into a microphone. And we have heard that it helps other people because other people have these thoughts too. And it's nice to know you're not alone and you're not crazy in these thoughts. Because in your timelines and your feeds and your algorithms, there's a lot of crazy shit out there. And if you don't hear anything different, you think that's the norm. And it's not. And those people are there. They're not there to put out their real thoughts and their authenticity. They're not there to put that out there. They're there to put out something with a clickbait title and something that's going to get you to click on it. Because when you click on their thing, it gives them revenue. So I do hope you enjoyed listening. Want to thank Adam Shubik for sponsoring this show. He really is one of the best real estate agents in our area. And so I hope people go to him and take advantage of what he brings to the table and the resources that he has available. Go to tacmd.com. That's tacmd.com. tacmd.com. And we'll talk to you next week.